Hi friends, I'm going to show you how to make ghee, which is not just clarified butter. Actually, the butter gets cooked to a very specific point. And once you see somebody else do this, you do it a few times yourself, then you'll lock it in, you'll understand exactly until what point you need to cook it to. So what you need is a pound of butter, and your butter ideally should be organic and cultured. Definitely unsalted. So you really want to buy the best butter that you can for this. And 1 pound will fill up a jar very nicely. So you put your butter into your pot, and then you need to heat up your butter. And in the first stage, you're just melting it. So we're going to put it on kind of a medium high until it melts. I don't know if you can hear this, but the ghee is talking to me and to us. This is so important that when you're making the ghee, you listen, you smell, you watch, you feel with your spoon, because all of this sensory awareness is going to help you to understand when it's actually done. We don't want to overcook it, we don't want to undercook it. So you have to be really paying attention to know exactly when it's done. Right now it's super loud, so I always think it's saying like, not yet, keep frying me. And we'll see if you can see what's happening. I'm just melting it still. I'm not really stirring that much because I know it's not going to burn, but you can give it a stir every now and then. Really important is that your pan is dry. You don't want any water coming into this process, because what we're trying to do is cook all of the water out of it, and you want to make sure you have a dry spoon, you have a dry spoon, whatever this is called, spoon plate, spoon dish, and then later a dry jar to put it into. So now that it's melted, I'm going to turn the heat down to medium. You don't want the heat to be too high, you don't want the heat to be too low. Medium is kind of just right. And then now I'm going to be really mindful of stirring. And I always stir in a clockwise direction because it gives good energy. And I only go in that direction. So pick a direction and then you keep going in that direction. And in the beginning, it's going to look, you're going to see all kinds of things. So it's just a yellow color. In the end, it will change colors. And depending on the butter you use, this process is going to vary. But you can see already all this white stuff coming up. So that's kind of what's happening in my first step. Okay, we're in beginning phases. It's obviously super loud, a lot of bubbles, very opaque. I cannot see to the bottom. That's going to change for them. Still got some time to go. But if you scrape your spoon on the bottom, you'll see that white bit on the side of the spoon. So those are the milk solids. And eventually they're all going to sink. And we keep checking to look for when those milk solids at the bottom of the pan turn into an amber color. And maybe you can already see how this is already starting to become more clear. Whereas before it was more opaque. Ooh, you hear it just shifted, so now it's a little more silent. And the bubbles are becoming finer. So really important that you pay attention here, because ghee can burn in a hot second. In fact, I am already almost there. I can see the milk solids are sinking. This is starting to become much more clear. And I'm going to keep on checking to see about those milk solids. The minute they turn an amber color, almost there. I'm going to take this off the heat so that I don't burn it. And you can see how, or maybe you can hear how much more quiet the ghee is right now. So it's almost done. The smell is changing. It's starting to smell kind of like popcorn. And I can feel those milk solids sticking. Okay, we're ready to go. So let me see if I can give you a good shot. These are so faint amber, but it's so hot where I am that I know this is the time I need to turn it off, because it keeps on cooking even though we turn off the heat. So you turn off the heat, take it off the heat and let it cool a bit. That whole thing took, I don't know, 5 minutes maybe, because it's very hot where I am, so everything cooks fast. And the butter that I'm using tends to transform really quickly. It could take 10 minutes, it could take 15 minutes. If you're making a lot, it will take even longer. But what I wanted to show you was this final end. Can you see those beautiful amber bits? That's what your final ghee should look like. If it is black, if it smells burnt, it's burnt and you shouldn't eat it. So just let it be like a learning lesson. If they're still white, then it's a bit undercooked. It's not really a problem, but it's not exactly where it should be. And there's a chance that it will get moldy faster when you leave it on the counter. So we're gonna let it cool for another minute and then put it into a jar. That was actually 15 minutes. Because it's so hot, we need to wait for it to cool. And then you filter it into a jar. So I'm using a little tea strainer to filter out all these milk solids, all that amber, the amber bits in the bottom of the pan. And you just strain it through. I usually let it sit here for a minute so that all the ghee that's in this little strainer can filter out. And I like to cover it with a towel. So once, I'll give that a minute, but just to show you, then I would cover it with a towel and let it cool. And once it's cool, then put the lid on. I don't put the lid on now because if I do that, steam is going to collect inside and there will be water content and then the ghee is likely to mold. We don't want it to mold. We just keep it outside at room temperature, and if you make it properly, it should stay fresh for a really long time. So that is how you make ghee.